Good evening, everyone. Super Weather Team 9 meteorologist Nathan John joining you for this edition of Nate at 8. Thanks so much for joining with me on this Wednesday evening. Not tracking much in terms of precipitation in the tri-state area. Certainly was hot and humid, though, today. That's for sure. A good amount of sunshine to soak up with that heat and humidity. And now we're going to be tracking what was more of a chance today back to more likely tomorrow. In fact, the greatest coverage of showers and thunderstorms for the week likely arrives for tomorrow. So that's what we're going to be talking about for this edition of Nate at 8. The rain chance not coming to fruition today and likely dry as we go overnight. But those showers and thunderstorms, they do turn likely for tomorrow. So we're going to map that out with your future cast. And from there, we're going to be trending cooler, less humid into the weekend, and part of that equation will even ring true for tomorrow. The cooler part, still muggy, but cooler for tomorrow. And then we turn less humid, a lot less humid by Friday. That will continue then through the weekend. So still tracking a gorgeous stretch of weather coming up going through the weekend. Our current temperatures now falling into the 80s, coming off of highs that the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport did reach in the 90s. This is the second time this month we've had a high of 90 plus at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. It took us almost towards the end of the month to start to pile up some of these 90 plus days. We went most of July while still hot and humid, coming up short of 90 degrees. You think back to last year, we had 13 days. 13 90 plus degree days last July. Doesn't take away from how hot and humid it's been, though, for this month. The fact the humidity's been a bit more worse this month than last July, but certainly stringing together a lot of those hot days last July with 13, only 2. Again, so far for this month. But I think what's more of noteworthy is not necessarily these highs, but these low temperatures. We spent another night at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport with a low of 70 plus. Can you guess how many days straight we've had low 70 plus? As we've been quite a stretch here of some warm and muggy nights. And if you guessed about a week, you would be correct. We are at 7 days now in a row, including this morning, of those low temperatures, 70 plus at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. This is our longest stretch in about 10 years. You know, we've dealt with a lot of these warm, muggy nights as of recent, but in terms of a stretch of 70 plus, this is the longest for this hot and humid stretch that we've been in since the end of June, now going through July, 7 days in a row. Again, the 8 is the overall record for the Wheeling area. That was in 2016 and 2011. But yeah, almost roughly a decade, really. It's the last time we had this long of a stretch. And here's the kicker, we can get to 8 mornings in a row. We can get to 8 in a row. It's going to be close tomorrow morning. I could see the airport actually holding at 70 degrees. Most of us, I think we can fall just into the 60s. It's close. We're right around 70 for tomorrow morning. So if we do, we're going to tie the record at 8. I think we can do that. It's close for tomorrow morning. Still warm, still muggy start to tomorrow, but I do think there's a chance where most of us can fall just into the 60s tomorrow morning. But again, we're talking a degree. It's regardless warm and muggy. Now, if we do get to 8 days in a row, we're not getting to 9. We're not going to be breaking a record and setting a new one. Not going to happen Friday. We're falling back lower 60s. We are getting back to a more cool, comfortable night for Friday, Thursday night into Friday morning, and then certainly a couple cool mornings ahead, Saturday, Sunday morning, lows back in the 50s, and then closer to 60 Monday. But you'll notice as those temperatures start to drop off, that, yes, this will coincide with a reduction in the humidity. So we'll see much more pleasant, refreshing levels of dew points arrive going into the weekend on Saturday, Sunday. Just a gorgeous stretch of weather setting up. We'll notice really the dew points just dropping off Thursday night going throughout the day on Friday. Certainly more pleasant even for the daytime Friday, but even more refreshing than by the time we get into Saturday. That will carry over then through the weekend. By Monday, starts to creep up a little bit, still comfortable though. And then we'll see that humidity likely further creep up for the middle to latter part of next week. That's when we can get back to more of that uncomfortable range. So we'll notice it. We can start to creep back up when dealing with those dew points later next week. But here near term, it's a decreasing trend after tomorrow. It's still going to be muggy tomorrow. Cooler. It will be cooler tomorrow. and we can see highs almost 10 degrees cooler, but it's still muggy. And then we'll start to lose that then going into Friday with the drop in those dew points. As you can see, we look at radar across the area, not a lot of activity, right? Something strays not in our area, but close to us, just south of Tyler County, towards the Akron Canton locations, just to our north and to the northwest. Close, but not into our area, not coming to fruition. We'll watch. It's a slight chance as we go overnight. Most, if not all of us, we're going to stay dry. Not a big rain threat this evening or even as we go overnight. But by tomorrow, yes, showers and thunderstorms will be turning likely, especially as we get into the afternoon. So it's likely a dry start to tomorrow, maybe spawning some showers late morning, but especially into the afternoon. As you can see, this is when we'll deal with the greatest coverage. Showers and thunderstorms will be likely at this point Thursday afternoon. They can carry over into the evening a little more than what Futurecast is showing, but by the time we end the day tomorrow, that yes, a lot of this activity is going to be tapering off around this point tomorrow evening. Around 8 o'clock tomorrow evening, a lot of this is going to be tapering off, and anything that does linger, that stray, will taper off in overnight. So by Friday morning, we are dry across the area. And again, at this point, we're waking up to some cooler, more comfortable lows, a noticeable drop in humidity on Friday, and then lots of sunshine breaking out for your Friday, and a lot of sunshine then continuing as we go throughout the weekend. Now, in terms of the severe weather outlook and potential for impacts in general for tomorrow, doesn't look like a big risk day. Does not. We have the potential for a strong to severe thunderstorm, especially if we can muster at least some sunshine and dry conditions in the morning. I just don't think it's a great potential, right? It's not a great risk, but it can't be ruled out for a strong to severe thunderstorm. If we do see it, it's more isolated. Damaging winds would be the primary concern within any severe thunderstorm that does develop. And then the potential for some localized flooding is there as well. Again, doesn't look like a great chance, but the potential for something more isolated or localized when it comes to flash flooding is there as well. Still some heavy downpours likely to be had tomorrow within those showers and thunderstorms. So watching for both as we go through the day tomorrow. The potential's there, primarily into the afternoon hours. Before those risks would then fall off Thursday night with a lot of those showers all together. And then we are drying up Friday. Lots of sunshine breaking out for your Friday and abundant sunshine for the weekend. Highs holding in the 70s likely Friday, Saturday, and then back close to the 80s on Sunday. By early next week, as then those dew points start to creep back up. Again, not real humid early next week, but for the middle to latter part of next week, I think we can get back to more of that, at least uncomfortably humid. It starts to turn very warm. It can start to turn more humid on us later into next week. And I know it's showing some dry conditions next week, but I still think there's some question marks there. I do anticipate to have the potential for some showers and thunderstorms. We just really don't have good confidence on when we could spot that later next week. The models are inconsistent, really, showing when we could spot some showers and thunderstorms. I would really right now just chalk it up more as that potential, at least a slight chance on almost a daily basis around the middle of next week, maybe even as early as Tuesday, possibly. But not a big rain threat as it stands right now, but a chance at least there, I think, for a lot of those days next week. Hopefully we start to gain more confidence throughout this weekend and can start to narrow down better rain chances for next week. So unfortunately, if you're planning anything next week, we still got some question marks there in terms of rain chances on a daily basis. But I will say the good news is now, there's not really any blatant high rain threat next week. I do think that the showers and thunderstorms that we can see next week can be more hit or miss. So there's some good news in that regard. But again, hopefully here throughout the weekend, we can gain some more confidence and, start to pinpoint more what days may bring a little higher rain threat next week with respect to others. Unfortunately, don't have that answered right now, but hopefully gain more confidence as we go through the weekend. But at least here near term, of course, our eyes fixed on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. I don't see any rain threat into that stretch. I think those showers are tapering off by Friday morning, and then we look dry throughout the day. Dry Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and again, maybe something returning into the middle of next week. But this is just a gorgeous stretch of weather. Lots of sunshine to be had into Friday afternoon, Saturday, Sunday. Just a gorgeous stretch of weather. Again, not nearly as humid, much more comfortable Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and not real hot either, as you can see, almost on the cool side, really. It may even feel a little cool to us at times Friday going through the weekend, certainly in those mornings with those lows back in the 50s. But even with respect to not feeling like closer to 100, and we're feeling like we're in the 70s Friday and Saturday, even that cool down in the afternoon may ultimately feel a little cool to us coming off of these hot and humid days. That's for sure. Again, thanks so much for everyone for tuning in. I appreciate it. Let's catch up on comments now. Austin, good evening. Today was another hot, miserable day. Certainly was. Trying to get some mowing done before it becomes unbearable to work outside. Plus, I can't believe there was 8.7 earthquake last night, even got up to 8.8 magnitude. The last I saw was 8.8. I could be mistaken. Maybe got even greater than that. But the last I saw last night, 8.8 magnitude earthquake, which ranks it into the top 10 largest earthquakes on record. I don't have a expansive knowledge of that. That's more into the geologist or seismologist. It's not we look to the sky, not to the ground. So I don't have a great knowledge on earthquakes, but I want more knowledge in the atmosphere and the sky than the ground. But yeah, from what I understand, I got up to 8.8 magnitude earthquake, and did deal with the top 10. The largest earthquake on record, I believe, was 9.5 magnitude, but 8.8 put it into the top 10 in terms of what's on record. In terms of what's on record of the largest earthquake. So certainly the record for total earthquakes in a year, I don't have, unfortunately, Austin. How many earthquakes have we had this year? I don't have that number either. That's something I'd have to look up. Again, I'm not as versed when it comes to dealing with earthquakes or rocks in general or tectonic plates, and you get more into geology there, a geologist, a seismologist. You start to look less at the sky at that point. But yes, I do know some of it, of what we dealt with last night. Certainly was historic, dealing with that. And, thoughts and prayers. I'm sure there's a lot of aftermath there, especially locations closer to where that occurred, which is the east coast of Russia. So getting closer towards Japan, east coast of Russia. Maybe some of the Aleutian Islands on Alaska. I haven't heard any more about those. They were under tsunami warning last night. So was Hawaii. Thankfully, at least for Hawaii, had about 5-6 hours of a heads up before the water started to rise in Hawaii. So thankfully, that was the case. That being the case, the tsunami warning, those warnings got out well ahead of the arrival of some of the higher waves due to the effect of the earthquake with the tsunami. Renee's asking, will it get a little cooler when school begins in about 2 weeks? Well, Renee, I think we have a cooler start to the beginning of August, but I do think that it's going to warm back up on us. So I think, I think we can continue a pretty warm and humid stretch going into that period, Renee, into the middle of August, maybe the latter part of August as well. So it's a cooler initial start. I think a lot of that first week of August, as you can see in the 9+1 day forecast, is not as bad as what it's been. It's not real cool, but cooler for a lot of that stretch. But getting into that second week and even in the middle of August, there's a good chance that it's going to be a pretty warm stretch through the middle of August. Maybe we can get a cool down late August around the time the school starts in 3 weeks. Maybe in that third week out, we could get a little bit of a cool down, but it's a little too early to tell. Right now, I'd be favoring more on just continuing to be warm and muggy. That's the side I would err with, Renee. That would be my best guess, is that I think a lot of August overall is probably going to end up pretty warm and humid again. Just like what we had going throughout July. So that would be the best bet in going out 3 weeks from now, is that there's better odds to deal with some more muggy weather than a cool stretch. As I think we can get some, like what we're seeing now, through the weekend, some cooler periods, less humid periods, but the overall pattern of just dealing with some more muggy conditions likely continues into a lot of August. It definitely looks that way into the middle of August. Maybe we get another little cool down later into the month. But as it stands now, I think it's more likely to be warm and muggy than the other way around, as the pattern is going right now. Also saying the weekend's muggy meter is looking like a perfect summer weather for me. It's looking great, isn't it? It certainly is. It's going to be a gorgeous stretch of weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is great weather to get out and enjoy the outdoors, right? The weather as of recent, good to be cooling off in the pool, but not really the best to enjoy the outdoors. It's been pretty hot and unbearably humid. But this weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday is certainly much more favorable to just enjoy the outdoors, right? Much more favorable weather to go for a walk, maybe take a hike, have a campfire, go camping, I mean, just so much better weather for all those activities Friday going through the weekend. So if you haven't made any plans, good time to do so, right? To enjoy the outdoors coming up. And again, keep in mind for tomorrow, it is cooler. It's not hot. I wouldn't call tomorrow hot. It's still certainly muggy, though. And we have to keep a heads up for those showers and thunderstorms arriving in the afternoon. You don't want to get caught outside in that. But once we get into Friday, great weather Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even into early next week as well. Looking real nice. Ian, good evening. A very hot and miserable day. It certainly was. But the last hot and humid day we have here going through the weekend, 83 degrees right now, but feels like 87, had a high of 92 with a heat index of 101. Oh, yeah, that sounds about right. That heat index value was near, if not into the 100s for a good portion of the region. Did have a heat advisory issued for locations south of I-70. Did not extend into locations along north of I-70. But I think most of us were real close to that threshold of if we weren't hitting 100 for heat index this afternoon, we were awfully close across the area. Joe, good evening. Thank you all again for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. And Renee just asking again about, I would probably err more on the hot and more warm or humid and muggy side than cool. We can probably a continuation of really what we've dealt with here as of recent, where we at least get some spurts here where it's a little cooler, less humid, but overall it's can be a fairly warm and just muggy pattern in place. And the long range outlooks, forecast certainly favors some seasonal to above normal temperatures going into the middle of August. Maybe we could get a cool down late into the month, and hopefully, right? Hopefully we can. But as it stands now, over the next 10 days, as you can see, a lot of it still pretty warm. And yes, it does start to turn muggy on us again, likely going through next week. So going into that second week of August and into the middle of the month, I think it's going to be pretty warm, muggy stretch. But hopefully, maybe we can get a little, hopefully some relief there. Maybe we can string together more than a handful of days of some cooler, less humid weather towards the end of August. Certainly would be nice, right? We'll see. But as it stands now, I would err more on the warm, muggy side. Terry, almost vacation time. Tennessee is calling, Terry says. And hopefully you have a good vacation and safe travels there, Terry. Hopefully the weather cooperates and is nice for you in Tennessee where you're heading down there. I'm certainly will be probably pretty warm, but hopefully it stays dry for you there, Terry. And again, safe travels. Have a good vacation time in Tennessee. Sounds like a good time. That's good to be down there in Tennessee. And it's pretty cool. I don't know where you're heading, Terry, in Tennessee, but it's a pretty nice state down there. Of course, a lot of folks go down there towards the Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. That's a great place, isn't it? It's pretty cool down there into the mountains. And never been to Nashville, but I've always heard really good things about Nashville as well. So, but yeah, pretty cool state to go to. Good vacation area for sure. For sure. Well, I hope you have fun, Terry, and safe travels. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. I appreciate it. As always, you can catch me coming up, of course, later on. Terry says, thanks, Nate. Pigeon Forge staying in cabin. Oh, yeah. Enjoy that, Terry. That's good time there down there in Pigeon Forge. Pretty cool area, isn't it? I'm sure some of you others have tuned in that have gone down towards Gatlinburg. Pretty cool area to go to. That's for sure. I always wanted to go down there. My dad has. I've always wanted to go down around Christmas time. I think it would be so cool. I've heard they put up a lot of decorations around Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge, or maybe it's one of those. I might be mistaken. Maybe just one of those. But I've just heard it's really cool with a lot of the decorations being put up around Christmas time. I think it'd be cool to go around then. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate it as always. I hope Terry says third time going. All right. Very cool, Terry. Well, have a good time and safe travels. I appreciate it as always, everyone. everyone. Thanks so much for tuning into this edition of Nate at 8. Again, catch me coming up News 9 at 10 on Fox 9 News Night tonight at 11. Latest on the showers and thunderstorms returning tomorrow. You can catch me coming up tomorrow, News 9 Live at 5. It'll be 5 to 6:30. I will not be having that edition of Nate at 8 tomorrow evening, but I'll be right back here Friday. So you won't catch me for those late shows tomorrow, but I will be back Friday. So make sure to stay tuned for that next edition of Nate at 8. And we all get to join back here on Friday, and we all get to celebrate that drop in humidity. So we get to join back together and celebrate the beautiful conditions on Friday. So I'll see all of you then. Have a great night, great day tomorrow. We'll be celebrating Friday with that drop in humidity as I see all of you on that next edition of Nate at 8.